Hello and welcome back to Adventure's Edge, Heroes of the Vale, episode 13.
Ooh.
Lucky number 13.
Now we're at a baker's dozen.
Oh,
yeah, baker's dozen. There you go.
My favorite.
Okay.
Donuts. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, kind of. Or cupcakes. Or cookies. Okay, well, we are going to try to just get right to it today. This is going to be a slightly different episode because I think we're going to split between a little bit of summarizing and a little bit of talking. So, did somebody actually do a little recap to remember where we're at?
Of course, I've got one.
All right, cool.
Last week, we confirmed that knowledge that doors are bad. After finding mushrooms that we need, we also found doors that we hadn't investigated yet. As adventurers, of course, we had to look for trouble, and, well, we found it. An iron door that rebuked even the ultimate of Bramble's lockpicking skills, and another door that required 3 of us tripping over each other before it finally opened, and then a final door that we really looked for, where we found a skeleton dwarf eager to reject our arrival. But still, we managed to win the day, as well as a host of random magical bolts, a ring, and a key that opened up the iron door. This leads to some kind of vast cellar below, possibly dwelled upon by kobolds, possibly with ancient cultists. But with a sickness awaiting its cure and a possible evil temple below us, what to do next?
And it sounds like you guys have been talking.
We have.
Yeah.
We have.
It is probably best, given that we have an unknown danger below us and an unknown sickness awaiting us. We should probably lock this up and maybe come back later.
I feel full of adventure right now, so I need to go and digest this first before we go eat
You still have a belly of fire and like 19 holes in your body, yes.
Yes. So, Bramble, now we got a question. Do you think we keep the keys?
Yes.
We should lock up this door, yeah? Okay.
Yes.
We keep the keys.
Okay.
Close the door, lock the door, put the stuff back in front of the door.
Mm.
Yep.
Construction. Ugh. I will drag that.
I've got that.
I could help with that too.
I would like to take that plate or that breastplate home just to see if it's got some worth to it.
Sure. All right.
And then the sword, because, I mean, we've got to be at least, I've got to make a living somehow then.
Okay. So it sounds like we're going to block the door up, collect all the various loots that you've found so far,
Yes.
and distribute them however you want to carry them.
Oh, one thing, Zinnia, I found this ring. Could you take a look at it for me?
Sure.
It's magical, but I couldn't really get a good idea of what.
That is I need to look. 21.
That is enough to identify the ring. So it is and I did share that picture last time. It is a simple gold ring with a large red gemstone set into it that sparkles with an inner fire. And there are some etchings on the ring to clue you in that this is, you're going to call it the Ring of Zakad.
Mm-hmm.
And the wearer of the ring gains fire resistance 10 against the first fire attack that hits you in that day. And additionally, it renews itself at every dawn. And additionally, it's a +1 resistance to saves made against fire spells and effects. And it must be worn for 24 hours to have an effect.
Oh.
And you'll have to attune to it too.
I share all that
Oh,
information.
that's a lot. Is there anybody who would think that they could value from this?
I mean, we're adventurers. All of us are going to get set on fire eventually.
Yes.
So,
Well, we'll just hang on to it for
Yeah,
right
we
now.
can figure that out. You're right.
We got a long walk back.
Okay. I'll pocket it.
All right. So you spend a half hour collecting everything, borrowing things, probably doing a quick cursory check to make sure you didn't drop any valuables along the way.
Would like to see if I could possibly take one of the warg's fangs out.
Sure. You could definitely do that. Okay.
I'm going to craft it for somebody.
Little tooth necklace.
Yeah.
So once we gather everything up, I imagine the plan would be to head back to the lake where the boat is.
Okay.
And take the boat back to town.
All right. That sounds like an excellent idea. So you, carrying all your loot and the well-earned curatives, you stride back out of the front gates of the monastery and begin walking down to the lake, probably looking back with a bit of concern about what may lie beneath there, and wondering if perhaps in the future you shall return. And as you begin walking to the lake, you do see the skies are darkening. When you had crossed it this morning, Zinnia, you had determined that some rain was in the future, so you think it is probably going to rain overnight, if not sooner. But you get back down to the canoe. It is there. It seems to be exactly the way you left it. And with a little bit of care and precision rowing, you manage to all get back into the canoe, position yourselves and your gear and everything. And it sounds like you're going to just kind of follow the shore to the river and then row your way back home, which at this point is about 7 miles or so. And the canoe is definitely, it's heavy on the water. So you're not going to be making record time, but Tommy's very skilled at what he does.
Punching things?
And rowing and
Rowing.
navigating about.
Oh,
Paddling.
Paddling.
It's a canoe.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
You learn things.
That is correct.
Yep. Paddling the canoes
Yeah.
and punching everything else.
Yep, that's right.
You might be good at rowing too,
Paddling
but
and
I'm not sure that
punching.
paddling is the same thing.
Ooh, that could be your new shop.
Paddle and punch.
Yeah.
Be a very strange shop.
Yeah, we'll
You
have to
still
find
paddles and punch?
we're going to need to find a Venn diagram for Tommy's skill set.
Yeah.
Okay, well then we're going to do a little bit of quick travel montage because we're going to expedite things since we're going to do a little fast travel. So you will be getting there after dark. And along the way, basically you're making your way through the river. To the south side of the river is the more Fey-occupied of the Hollywood, and to the north is the more creatures and possibly goblin-infested areas of the Hollywood, but you stay far enough from the shore to keep yourself free of dangers. It does begin to lightly rain along the way, forcing Zinnia to probably take a position on the boat,
Mm-hmm.
and her meager 12 pounds sinks it. No,
Wow.
I am kidding. It doesn't help, but it doesn't. It's not the straw. So other than that, along the way, you have a light rain, and as darkness settles, the only thing that's interesting before you get back to the city is that I'd say probably halfway, you do spot a large dire boar drinking water on the north shore. And I'm giving it away that it's a dire boar. I'm hoping somebody's incredible knowledge nature, because I'm pretty sure you have some among you, identify it as that. And you're probably about 10 yards away from it as you row past, and it kind of looks up from its drinking, its kind of eyes gleaming in the dusk. But other than that, you just keep rowing.
Mm-hmm.
Paddling.
Yes.
I push him in the water.
That just happened. Sorry.
You get this every day, so don't worry.
Paddling.
Paddling.
Yes, thank you. But that's pretty much it. It's a relatively quiet ride besides the sounds of the forest. So after dark, you reach Raven Rock, and you see the hill of the city illuminated in the early night. There's still plenty of activity going on as you reach the docks.
I'll have cast light when it got dusk a little bit, just so we can see in front of us.
Sure. There's still some workers that may be doing some, late evening cleanup, but most of the activity is died down as you paddle the canoe up to the dock. Tommy, you feel like you've been away from work for a little while here, and
Yeah, took a day,
couple
some
days.
vacation.
Yep. So you throw some lines and secure the canoe. You see some of the dock workers kind of look up curiously as you facilitate getting everybody safely out of the canoe, and you can all stretch your legs because by then you're probably very tired.
Okay, well, we need to get these up to the
Laurel.
Laurel.
Roots and Remedies.
Yeah, Roots and Remedies. I forgot the name of it. We'll need to get these up to the Roots and Remedies.
Okay, let's go.
Well, assuming then that you stick together and make haste, you hurry through the town, which, I mean, there are people out and about, but again, it doesn't have the same feel. It's just there seems to be a pall over the town, and you reach the Roots and Remedies. The shop seems quiet as you knock on the door, and Laurel answers with just lines of concern on her face. She looks exhausted as she sees you, and it takes her even a moment to like realize who you are. It's like, and then hope washes over, and she says, "You've returned.
We've got them all free."
Oh, thank the gods! Come in. And that just perks her up as she rushes back behind and starts gathering her books and stuff. And then you presumably begin presenting the ingredients.
Yes.
Yep.
And then we offer to help with any prep work that needs to be done.
That is very generous. I certainly take it. It's been a very difficult few days. It shouldn't take me more than, I think, an hour to get enough of this. And she looks pleased at all the ingredients you have. And it looks like you definitely have plenty. Oh, this is splendid. Let's get it in. So she starts taking the ingredients, and then, I mean, not everybody can help because her shop is a bit
Perhaps
crowded.
we could gather people or let them know the news. So if there's anybody at home, we got to get it to them maybe.
Oh, we'll need to take it to them.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a list. Not everybody's made it, but let's get that done. So she begins working on it, and I assuming that you just all wait around a little bit, or I don't know if some of you want to go off and do something while that's happening, or you're just going to kind of wait to facilitate.
I'll go.
I want to make sure one of the lumberjacks in the second episode, his uncle was sick, and I promised him that I would get some to his uncle, I believe.
His nephew, Evo.
Yeah, there you go. I want to make sure that he gets some.
Do you want to check on your sister?
Yeah, that her obviously.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted to make sure that because I made him a promise. So
Okay.
I would like to check on my mentor. This adventure took so long that I forgot his name.
Umros.
Umros. I want to see, she said some of them didn't make it. It's a 50-50 here. Maybe a 20-80.
Did you want to do that while they're...
Yeah, we can do that if that's okay.
Okay. Okay. And so because we'll kind of move things along. So you're going to go check on Umros. So Tommy, were you going to wait there or run?
I'm
going to wait until we get the stuff, and then I'm going to
cure.
take it to Bree and this other guy.
First. Yeah.
So we're all just going to wait then. So it's just going to be Darun that's going to kind of run off for a few minutes. Okay. So the four of you wait in the shop, help as you can. And she definitely will put you to work to help basically, divide out the, it's going to be basically like a potion. And she begins working as quick as she can to start getting the batch ready. But yeah, she definitely assures you, this is going to be plenty. So, Darun, you hurry back to Umros's house where you've been living for the last year, and it's quiet. The lights are off as you get there, and you open the door, and the house is empty.
Was it Gilda?
Gilda.
Should have said Gilda Radner. Gilda. So I'll go knock on her door.
All right, you knock on the door. Yeah, there was a lamp on, and she opens the door and looks at you, and she has a sad look to her face, and she sees you, and she's like, Daroon, you've returned. Oh, I'm so glad you're alive.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry.
Oh, Daroon, I'm so sorry.
He didn't make it.
It was just this morning. I went and checked on him, and I'm so sorry. He didn't make it.
Where's his body?
Well, the priest came, and he's being prepared at the temple.
All right. Do you need anything?
Oh, I did need to give you things. He left things for you.
Unless it's urgent, I will come back in the morning for them.
Okay.
I am sorry. Thank you for watching him and being there with him.
Yes, of course. I did everything I could.
I know you did. And I'll maybe, put my hand on her hand or try to be as
Yeah. Give her some comfort.
Sure.
Mm.
And then I will head back.
All right. So about 20 minutes later, Daroon returns, and within an hour or so, Laurel finishes the cure, and you're helping her divvy it out between bottles, and pretty soon you have about 25 different doses ready. And she has a list of names, and she says so she's going to take some, and then presumably you can either go in groups or just basically, or you guys could call for help too if you want. I mean, it's not really at this point totally on you to save everybody, but you're the one standing here.
There's only 25 doses. I mean, there's only 25 people that need to. That's it.
That was it.
Oh,
And you feel like all of that for 25 people?
a little bit.
But now we know, just in case. I mean,
Sorry.
So
Are they still drinking the water? Maybe we can,
So she will tell you that 5 people passed, but if another day had gone, you think that it might have doubled that didn't make it because there's some people in very bad condition.
Well, I will take at least 1 or 2 of the doses and make my way up to my parents' house to give some to Bree.
Okay.
I'll help with the list.
Yeah.
Yes. Me as well.
So maybe we should split it up.
Yeah. We'll just start delivering.
All right. So you separate and quickly begin going around the town, and word will probably spread pretty quickly. So within the hour, you've delivered the curatives to all of the infected. And Tommy, you go home. Your house is a bit quiet, but as you go inside, you just kind of go in. You see your both your mom and dad are there,
Mm-hmm.
and they just look expectant, like, Tommy, you've returned.
Yeah. I got the medicine for Bree, so I'll just start going upstairs.
Okay. She's gonna follow you. Your dad kind of staying back, kind of quiet. You go, headed up the stairs, and she's still in the bed and still looking pretty weak. But she definitely looks even paler. Her cheeks have sunken in a little bit, but she sees you and gives you a wan smile, and it's like, Tommy, you've returned.
Yeah. Zinni and I got the medicine for you. Here, drink this.
She will. You can probably have to help her kind of like sit up
Sure.
a little bit and drink it down. She's like really weak and has some trouble with it and kind of coughs a bit, but she gets it all down, and you can see some color kind of almost immediately start coming into her cheeks. So she's like, "Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it feels good going down."
Well, it's good. I'll stay there to kind of comfort her. That's probably where I would be for the rest of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, and after I finish deliveries, I'm gonna head over
All right.
to Brina. Yeah.
Yeah. She perks up a little bit seeing you, and then she's like really happy, but she's also exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can, while you guys are watching her, that the color comes back under her cheeks, and then she feels like her temperature immediately starts going down, and you can see. Then she's like, "I think I want to just kind of sleep now," and you kind of let her just rest and attend to her, and you feel very good that she's going to make it through, and pretty much similar experiences across the town as word spreads, and you think that you have done a pretty heroic deed, really, saving all these people, even though not everybody made it through the night. So, Trunk, you delivered a few, and you probably ended up, I don't know where you ended up amongst this, but I'm kind of imagining that one of the priests from the temple, maybe, because they were still kind of attending to people, and you maybe ran into one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually, I don't know how you see yourself, like, whether or not you're like, oh, I'm a priest or I'm a cleric, or how you self-identify because you didn't have the proper training, but you learn through interacting that she is a cleric of Asana, which is, your patron. So it's the first person that you've run into anywhere that like worships Asana the way you do.
Like, in fairness, Trunk doesn't even really know that who he worships. He has a friend that communes with him from the sun and has given him the ability to restore and heal. So if this other cleric is similar and says that, she worships this Asana, that's, interesting to Trunk, but I don't know that he's going to really recognize that we're the same thing necessarily.
Okay.
Like, unless some of the things that she does visibly looks identical to what I do.
Okay. Well, I'm imagining, because you probably have a holy symbol that you maybe have crafted.
I do not. I have the trait, the scar trait. My holy symbol is literally the scars on my body.
Oh, that's right.
I
Interesting.
wonder if she would recognize that.
Well, I don't know if she would, but I think that you would recognize the holy symbol because you probably have seen the symbol in dreams and stuff.
If you say so.
Well, just think about your connection. It's a weird thing. Yeah. So she will, she's kind of a middle-aged human. Her name is Zephora. So if you don't recognize her for what she is, I think she will recognize you at least, or the two of you will somehow sense this kindredship.
Sure.
And so, and since you come back with these healing potions, that when it's kind of starting to be over, she invites you to come to the temple to talk. She's very curious about how you came to be a fellow worshiper or follower.
Right. I think the curiosity of someone who's experienced even something close to what I have, I would follow her to the temple, see what she has to say.
Okay. Because I was gonna have them extend, or her extend a place for you to stay for the night if you wanted. If you end up because it seems like people are scattering a little bit, and you guys really didn't have a moment other than this long ride, which you probably did have some discussions to really get a sense of what you've accomplished. But it's late at night, and not everything will probably fully be talked about. Before,
how you're so exhausted, you're starting to hallucinate. I'm at that point.
Yeah. You had a very difficult few days.
Ones that we weren't used to. Like, that was a lot for us.
So I don't want to. I feel like I'm going to probably think about some things later, but when it all is said and done, it seems like everybody kind of has a place to go. And then Bramble, I don't know if you're going to try to hang out with Zinnia or you're kind of left there. But did you have an idea of where, like, your feeling of what you wanted to do?
I feel like my brain would immediately be going back to Zinnia and assuming that she's at Tommy's house.
Okay. And I'm sure that they can probably find a place for you to stay for the night.
Yeah, I know a guy who just cleared out of this room. If you need a place to lay your head.
Wow.
There's some rationalization out of it, I mean.
Well, and I've got my own place too.
Yeah.
That, I could have other people there too.
Okay.
He's really, really clean. You wouldn't think, but that's like, do you have like an OCD about cleanliness in your apartment?
No,
No.
probably.
No. Just tank tops everywhere, huh?
Just- yeah.
Sleeveless tees everywhere.
Sleeveless tees everywhere.
All right.
Okay.
So, and I totally forgot. I rebuilt the Raven Rock map in Roll20. Let me present that to you. I'm not going to really just. I think it looks better now, and it is to scale, and all your various houses and stuff are there.
Mm.
So anyway, we can kind of go over that. So, I think the point of that is, you don't get the full hurrah tonight, but you all do eventually find your way to a bed and get some well-deserved sleep before, the following day, and to see what all is going to come out from that. So unless there was something else you wanted to do, I'm actually going to propose we break here.
Sure. I did want to just have a moment with Horace, basically go to the temple and kind of say my goodbyes.
Oh, sure.
That's a small little detail that I can just keep to myself before I go to bed.
No, that would be fine. And probably by the time you did that, I'm thinking that Trunk actually might be at the temple.
Sure.
That's okay.
Sounds like.
So kind of engaged with, having a conversation with us. So we're going to stop there. I realize as an episode, that's pretty short. But what we're going to do now is kind of spend a few minutes as like a decompression. This is your first step on the way to become heroes. Your characters have gone through a little bit of evolution.
First step, I'm already a hero. What are you
Hero
talking
in-
about?
Hero in your own mind.
Say that to the mirror every day. Who's the hero? I'm the hero.
Yeah, and Tommy definitely has a mirror.
So I'm going to possibly pass this over to you guys. I mean, what I would like to do, and I was kind of, wanting to do more like as you leveled up and you kind of have this like, you've grown in strength and you learn some new powers, an opportunity for you to kind of talk about what you're, where you are as a character and how you think your character's experiences through this first part of the journey have affected you, and anything else you want to kind of say about yourself. And if you have some other questions about each other or something else you want to talk about, and spend about, 15, 20 minutes kind of just having a discussion.
Mm.
Sure.
Does anybody would like me to start?
Well, I'm going to ask Dayrun.
Mm.
You don't seem too broken up about your mentor.
I kind of hold it inside. He was not the way I saw it, he wasn't a very giving man. So it's almost maybe like a relationship of, and I might have had my own moments, or maybe when I go back to my room and kind of lose it. I don't want to show that weakness and in front of other people. See more of like, he was pretty hard on me. And, I felt like he doubted me a lot. It's kind of what I created in my head of my skills. But when he got sick, I started taking over for everything, and trying to do everything. And I kind of proved myself with this adventure that I can do something. I am worth something to this world. And so, and I guess since he was sick before I left, it was kind of like, no surprise. Like when you don't have time to think about something because you keep yourself busy with something else?
Sure.
I think I did that with the adventure. Like I just was I had this other purpose now. So it kind of seemed like he wasn't like a mentor as in like I just worked for him because I was sent to work there in town. So it's not like I grew up and he taught me everything. He just taught me more about the skills of being this kind of druid and being part of this association, and like the Earth Elders are very like even keel. They don't like to show emotion because to them there's a science behind the mystic.
Okay.
That's the way I see that.
Okay.
Yeah, I had some thoughts about it. I just don't know where Howard Duran sees himself now is like he wants to do something like now he kind of proved to himself he wants to do something more epic, but he's kind of tied by this group of people telling him what to do. So that might be the next challenge for him because he's going to get, he part of this association he's been with so long, and what good are they doing for the people, the actual people? That's why maybe he saw some behind this curtain of, how you think this organization you're part of is so good and golden, and you maybe see some cracks in the wall of just like maybe they're more caught up in themselves and they are completely separated from the actual world of people, of living things, of not just building these monuments and taking care of these monuments. There's just physical things, but they have no interaction with the actual people who use them. Deep,
All right.
huh?
Interesting.
Pulling back a little bit of the curtain there.
All right.
I think one of the questions I had was for Tommy. He's the only one of us that kind of has a stable life. Like the others don't really have serious commitments or places that we, quote unquote, live in any kind of structured way. But Tommy's got family, he's got a job, and immediately after this, I imagine, since we've got a podcast and we intend to do something,
Nope, that's it.
we'll probably have, adventure number 2 that's going to be creeping up. And how does Tommy feel about the idea of potentially walking away from this life of stability?
Well, I imagine going on this adventure is probably would spur that to action. So the fact that, instead of doing the mundane, waking up and just doing the work every single day, being able to be a hero as opposed to kind of just a disappointment to his family, where he's got other people that rely on him and he can rely on them, that, maybe that is enough to have Tommy, quit his job and live a life of adventure.
What's Mom going to say about that?
Well, she'll be disappointed. She's always disappointed.
But she has to be happy with what you brought. I mean, you saved her daughter.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
I mean, a disapproving mother doesn't have to be happy about anything ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of immaterial to what they believe. The look of Bree, when he brings the potion or the healing to her, that feeling. I mean, I imagine that's a crazy high, so.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe he goes in search of more of that.
Plus, there's kind of that fact that Bree has been telling you these fantastic stories about her fairy friend that Tommy, for the longest time, has gone, oh, you keep having your cool imagination. And now the fact that it's real has to kind of awaken a little bit of a sense of wonder in Tommy as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. And he's certainly much more kindred to the Fae than a normal person would be.
Right.
So, I can imagine that. Yeah, it's probably a little easier to leave for Tommy now than it would have been.
And I have these various little scenes that I'm looking forward to in the next episode, but it's the idea that these types of experiences are transformative. I mean, you've faced death. You really, I mean, you went from a normal life to like 3 days of danger and uncertainty and a little bit of desperation. And it has a way of changing people. And that's kind of what I was like, yeah. How does it change your characters? Yeah, because I'm really looking for, I mean, people who've listened this far into the story, and thank you for doing that, is something a little bit different where it's not, whoa, we're going to do this, adventure path. And there's this expectation that you're going to go on this huge quest. I was like, I really wanted to have real growth, like something maybe organic, where you guys, you were thrust into this because you all had a specific interest to do it. You weren't forced to do it. It was like this was a purpose that you did because of people you cared for. And that now changes you. And that's what I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So
let me ask you, Matt, the player, but do you think that, as far as how is now your thoughts on humans or humanoids or people who live in these houses? Has it changed at all, or are you just more mystified?
I mean, in terms of society and rules and civilization, Trunk never really had a problem with it. It's just something that's completely different. Like, he lives in the Feywoods where, at least his perspective of things, there's no such thing as like ownership. People borrow and trade and play, and there's mischief, and a pixie snatching a potion in the middle of the woods. Well, that's normal. Didn't mean any harm by it, kind of thing. So being kind of thrown into this place where there are rules, it's something that he's certainly figuring out and confused about. But ultimately, his kind of outward goal is everybody should just be able to have access to that kind of joy or happiness or whatever.
Childlike wonder.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Peter Pan. We were just talking about Peter Pan.
In a way, yeah. So I think part of him looks at civilization as this kind of arbitrary set of rules that someone set down, but he's not sure that there's a good reason for some of it.
Sure.
So disrupting some of that to bring kind of the Fey frivolity to the civilized world may be something that he wants to do. But like part of his other goal is the Fey have this belief of the summer lands where they're destined to go or where they came from. And until they're there, they're kind of incomplete. And if we can't go there, maybe there's a way to bring some of that Summerland magic here. So this is a more complete home. And that doesn't necessarily mean, bring down civilization, but maybe introduce something that isn't there. Some of that Fey wonder to other people might be a path to making that happen.
Good answer to that question. Very well.
I don't think Trunk could articulate any of that.
Right. It is hard from a standpoint when you play characters that pretty much sit inside a lot of standard civilization rules throughout society, throughout human society. And we kind of play along those rules too, right? I mean, just what a town is and what the laws are and good and bad. And it's kind of more of the Fey, interesting, like how to play a Fey character. Like, how do you necessarily you kind of have to break from that structure, even though it's part of you as growing up as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's kind of that extra little hurdle that Trunk has to jump over because, like, statistically, objectively, a troll is not a fairy. And deep down, Trunk knows that, but that is not a fact he likes.
Yeah. Does he feel accepted by the fairy world?
Like, he views himself as Fey, and everybody else seems in the Fey Woods seems to treat him as, just the big guy, which is fine.
We could actually ask the other Fey here on the table what they think. Like how Zinnia, and Bramble, I guess either one takes this question. Like, how did you? So Rochelle, you played a lot of characters throughout your life. Was this any different than any other character in a way of being challenged to be a little bit different in how you perceived? Like, was it playing any different character than anything else outside of flying constantly?
Outside of the fact that I could fly.
Right.
I mean, yeah, the flying is really cool. Gosh. I mean, Yes, but I think part of that is just the idea that I'm trying to remember if this is the first time that I've actually played in a completely new world.
Sure.
And I think that may be true. I think I've always played in an existing,
Sure.
like a Galarian,
Yep.
or something that's been formally written.
Yep.
And so there's still a lot that I think is unknown, and well, what does it mean to be Fae in Tellus? And so there's still a lot of unknowns. And so when Trunks says, "Oh, well, that's just pixies do that," and then thinking about, well, Zinnia is like, no, that's not just pixies are slimy little words I probably shouldn't say, and so it's, I don't know. So there's that whole idea of what is normal
Mm-hmm.
as being a fae, and what is just Zinnia's feelings about it, and I don't know. So there's that whole exploration.
And as a world builder, where there is a degree of collaboration here, I love the creative elements that you guys have brought to the table. We had some broad parameters, but yeah, you're fleshing out Fae society by the way you play and by the things that you're saying and your thoughts on the pixies, and like that has now, that becomes the world, right? So that's fun for me.
Mm. And part of that is, Trunk's perspective at it. He's just a kid in many ways. So even within the Fae world, there's still a kind of structure. I assume there's Fae courts, and I remember we're talking about a king at some point, whatnot, and I'm like, Trunk is oblivious to even that. So even when Zinnia's perspective of fairy versus pixie, whether that is a very personal, individual, quasi-racist perspective, or a very a very legitimate thing
From experience. Yeah.
right? Trunk's just none of that matters. Just be happy.
So, Bramble, what do you think Bramble thinks of? How does Bramble see this world of, I don't say acceptable murder, or just death? You know what I mean? We're fighting evil. I don't know if you've ever seen us killing, or people killing wargs and skeletons and stuff. It's gonna be a little bit of a shocker to you. I mean, you might have heard of stories. Do you think Bramble, how do you think he reacted? Would have how does he's thinking back on it? Some crazy crap going on there.
Yeah.
Or just accept it because it's just the way.
I feel like it's definitely out of the norm for Bramble. I mean, a lot of what he's doing most of the time is just messing around, having fun, entertaining. So it's definitely different. But also being friends with Zinnia, he understands kind of how she works. So some of her actions and some of the violence coming from her isn't too shocking, but still it's
Wait. Wait.
I say feistiness, not violence, but
So Zinnia, I never imagined Zinnia was going to be a violent fairy.
Mm-hmm.
That was never the intention. And I think that's one of the things that is emerging in Zinnia's personality.
Yeah.
you think it's a new development rather than
I do. I did not imagine that Zinnia was going to be I'm going to come and I'm going to stab people in the eye. I think Zinnia's finding that the thing with the warg.
Yeah.
It's oh, okay. There's
You seem to think it everything that tries to hurt you personal, and you get irritated about it.
I think that Zinnia is maybe becoming a very utilitarian and, embracing utilitarianism. Like, oh,
Much more objective.
this thing is going to come back and hurt me or other things that I care about. So I got to take care of this now.
Just creatively. I mean, with the creativity of, like, however you have to do it, it has to be done.
Like, yes, this is maybe not what I want, but it's better than the alternative.
Does that make you two who know her in a different light scared, or just... I mean, like, if you think this has become this, you've known Xenia before this, right? Do you think this is an effect that humans have had
maybe
on her?
Been hanging out with the humans.
I mean, their idea of what violence is completely different than ours until they saw it. Yes? No?
Well, I mean, I can only speak from Trunk's perspective, of course, but, he would know that, violence and killing things is not foreign to the Fae.
Sure.
Like, if anything,
Those red caps.
creatures that have
Yeah, exactly.
this kind of level of longevity, they look at mortality from a very different perspective. I mean, some might argue that Fae have, immortality. So the idea that, you can die and then that's it. Like, by some mythologies, Fae literally can't even comprehend that. So killing other things is just, a fun prank. So, I mean, I don't know about the specific world of Tellus here, but Trunk is not so,
Disturbed.
Unaware.
Sure.
Well,
Are you disturbed by that kind of...
He knows that that's out there.
Okay.
But I think his kind of childlike aspect of that is like he'll participate in the fight, but the finality of it, I don't think he's comfortable with it. I don't think he knows, like, he's ready for that. So, like, whenever it's time to decide, is this fairy napper going to get killed, or what do we do with the clearly I'm going to eat and torture you wolf? Like, objectively, obviously, yes. Sure. Getting rid of those things, not a bad thing. But Trunk is still looking at that kind of finality, the actual killing blow, as too much. Like, he's here to stop bullies.
Yeah. See, I don't ever, as in my perspective, I don't understand what, like, a red cap is. I don't understand that violence. I think what fairies and fae are complete is just like what you explained, like Summerland, la la la, just like dancing around a maypole, kind of doing weird stuff. Because I have no concept because I've never met them. So I was just like, I think Darun was a little concerned if you could stomach it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Trunk is at the point where he can't stomach it yet. And that's mostly out of immaturity. Like, he's going to have to grow up at some point. But for the moment, when that happens, we're just going to sing in my head and turn and look away. And maybe that will mean that it isn't real.
I think Bramble is in a kind of similar situation. I wouldn't say it's to the point of, like, turning around and, like, plugging your ears and singing. But it's, definitely something he's not used to. Obviously aware that violence is a thing, and death, happens and what it means. But definitely, not used to it for sure.
A little bit surreal to you. So,
yeah.
I think Tommy would be kind of in the same boat. I mean, he's certainly been in more than one fist fight in his life.
Sure.
But, I mean, there's a pretty long jump between getting in a fist fight and, killing something.
Sure.
So, while he wouldn't be, unknown to violence, but, like, I imagine these were amongst the first monsters that he ever saw and got into battle with.
Yeah.
It's certainly with the hobgoblin that shot him with the arrow. That's probably the closest that he's ever come to death. So, yeah.
And then there was the pixie that was the closest you've come to literally wanting to commit murder.
Yeah, that was the closest. Yeah. So I met, but, again, Tommy's pretty young too.
Sure. See, with Darun, I'm 75. So the amount of time I've been around, it's just, I lived to a long time. So I came up with a warrior clan. That's what I was raised. So I knew all the stories of death and violence, and that's what they wanted me to go into. And I was for a while, but then I just couldn't handle it. Like, I left and then have been training for a long time, which is this what you'd have. I'm not like a young buck, but it took a while so I'm not old, but I'm not young in a certain mindset. But it took me a while to find my true self, and I didn't want to become a warrior, but then I ended up committing these acts of violence just like I was supposed, I wanted to get away from. So he's used to all of the talk of gore and war, but I don't think he really thought that he could do it. But I think he's now maybe more like surreal. I think he's a little bit more just become desensitized to it.
Okay. So those are all some very good thoughts. I really love the character development, and I'm very excited to see how all of your characters continue to evolve. Do you guys have any questions about the story, the world, what you're hoping for is next, what you think might be next? Have you had any thoughts about it?
I'm surprised at how vast and unknown the forest is.
Okay.
Because it seems like came in here thinking, oh, they knew everything about this forest. And then, of course, realizing, well, that's kind of a naive on my part, But just like how vast the forest is and unknown. You guys the Fae don't even know a lot about what it is. But yet you're curious. So, is it just amount of space it is and it seems daunting why you haven't explored more? Obviously, the story fits. It has to, right? But yeah, it's a massive forest. If you look at it on a map, it's massive.
Zinnia's extremely small and easily distracted, and just kind of, and
yeah, move on to the next thing.
It's not like she's out there mapping and one thing catches her attention, and okay, spend some time here, and yeah.
So if you have cartography as a skill, you have no excuse. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it might just be a different approach to existence. Like, humans are explorers and they want to map and they want to know, categorize, and they want to know where everything is. And the Fae are more like, well, this is where we are, and this is where we party, and over there is where we go see the king. And like, why do you want to map everything?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just spending 30 years making daisy chains. What's your problem, man?
Yeah, and I feel like with Bramble and just fawns in general, they're very social and like community oriented. So they have everything they need right there. So why look for something else?
I wonder how that is going to play into this next adventure with the Fae. So, Matt, you'd asked me earlier how Tommy would view the potential of leaving to go on an adventure. For the Fae, I imagine they've been in that same forest all their lives, and the same could be said for them if that next adventure spurs them, to the east, whether there is no forest. What kind of motivation are they going to have?
Like a bigger city or something like that. Right?
Yeah. Without that, I guess, driving sense of community, or doing what's right, that more frivolous attitude, how is that going to play?
Yeah, like for Trunk, he's got kind of two parts of his mind going at the same time. There's this very general, explore and see what's out there and bring kind of the mirth of the Fae to everyone else. But he also has kind of this deeper underlying thing. So, he was found by the Heart Tree, place that even Fae don't tread. And like, there's the question of, how did he arrive there? And like earlier in our gameplay, we had to make a religion check, and you made the comment like, oh, well, I'm not a cleric. I don't really know religion. And I had to kind of chuckle because I am a cleric and I very intentionally have nothing in religion. Yeah. And like normally when I sit down for a game, the first thing I do as a player is like, dive into the mythology. Yep. I want to know everything about the gods. I want to know everything about this. Sure. I actively had to not read any of that because Trunk is oblivious to this.
Yeah, we could tell that you were really trying to avoid Don trying to connect the dots with the priest at the end because you're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Well, see, and that's the thing. Like, the thing that ultimately kind of convinced Trunk to leave outside of, hey, there's somebody who needs your help, is he's been feeling that he's on the verge of like answering a call, but he just can't recognize
You had
what that
mentioned
call
that early,
is.
like early on, yeah.
So he feels like this is it. Now I'm going to finally understand more about why I can do these things and who I am and how I showed up here. And he's open to whatever answers he may find there. So meeting Zephora, the idea that he would recognize something in her kind of didn't click as anything that I'm like, Trunk wouldn't recognize that.
Yeah.
I don't think. But when Don said, hey, you feel kind of a kindred spirit in like your magic or something like that. I'm like, oh, well, that's new. That I can maybe connect with. And now that's going to have me very curious. And she might say, oh yeah, you worship. I literally have to look Asana. And I'm like, do I?
Trust him.
I don't know. Like, if you say so, like
Right.
both to Don and to Zephora,
Yeah.
like Trunk's gonna be like, I have a friend who talks to my mind.
Someone put a
in the
label on
morning.
it that necessarily didn't.
Right. And
Yeah.
like, is this label that I'm
Yeah.
getting from civilization, like, is that good? Because now it's knowledge and maybe it'll help me figure things out in the future. Or is this just more of civilization trying to trap
Yeah, does it
something that's
confine you?
bigger
Yeah.
and more beautiful than they understand? And
That's cool.
I, as the player, don't yet know how Trunk is going to react to that.
That's
We'll have to see.
You certainly could use them on the docks, all right? Throwing things around.
Oh yeah, I got a job for Trunk.
So do you have any questions for us? I mean, with you, I don't know what the next step is because obviously this seems like a build-up adventure, and it is going to be interesting how we come back and say, so guys, what are you doing today? It's kind of boring life now, isn't it? Are you guys going to go back to the forest?
Well, and I specifically wanted a little bit of a lurch. And that's kind of what, obviously we're not going to spend an hour
Sure.
in that because that's no fun. But have that be something you experience, which I think, that, Matt, where you're just talking about, when you're talking about Tommy, how do you go back to your normal life? And that is kind of a scene where when you have this experience and it changes you, well, how do you go back to your normal life and what does that look like? And are you then the first person that answers the next call?
Yeah.
Right. So you guys have started the hero's journey. And when, building this campaign has been very different, I think, from every other campaign I've done before, because it's going to be very influenced by choices you guys make. I have some several really large plots.
Sure.
That I don't know what you're going to latch onto, but I'm seeing what your characters are interested in, and that's part of the reason now thinking about doing this type of session is I don't want to try to force you guys down a path. I want to have the next thing be like, oh, we need to take care of this because it's important to us.
So you're like an angler, and you've got like three poles, three lines out there. And it's whatever hook this fish bites, right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I think I know which one at this point is going to be the biggest concern for you.
What I'm surprised with this, I think, and I've talked to Jeff a little bit about it, says what we ran into first and second level, these are not typically, at least in my play, in my experience, these aren't pushovers that we've fought from a first level experience level. I don't know what everybody else thought. They were. It is. There's a little bit. There's that thread in the needle. Sure.
It's like, I tried to give you interesting challenges.
It's not an insult, or I like the way it's just more of a challenge. I think fighting the first level, the things that we have, because they have more resistances than we're used to. Like just a guy or some guards or some goblins or something that was very straightforward. This is what it is, what you're fighting. You know? Much more of like we had to use certain kind of spells or resistances or just a little more of a challenge. I like that, but that's like a way to dive right into it,
and I'm going to do my best to keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Having a mundane, repetitive fight, I don't think is all that interesting. But also it's like, well, we got to keep the action up. There's an action story balance. And, even now kind of listening back to the first few episodes, it's like, I did go against the grain because there's everybody usually starts with an action hook. Like, oh, hey, we're going to start a new party. You guys don't know each other. Roll initiative, and we're going to have a start of the fight. And you get that adrenaline going.
Sure.
But once you guys, had made your characters, it's like, that's not going to work. I don't want to have something that just illogically throws you together. We're building a little story that drew you in.
I think in storytelling that can become seen as lazy if you do that route. Like, oh, hey, everybody's in a bar. Let's throw down. I mean, people hear that all the time. If they play their own games, how many people out there have been in a bar and decide to join a party and they're best friends the next day?
I mean, because that's the classic.
It's
that's
easy.
The trope. It's you all meet in the bar. And I mean, I knew absolutely we're not going to start the story that way. I mean, and I've been like, I have this list of interesting ways to start campaigns. I've been trying to come up with things that don't.
That's good. I think a lot of DMs need that because I get caught in that own thing too.
Because it's I don't know if it's always lazy. It's just it's kind of the easiest way. It gets things going.
I just think easy and lazy is like
a little bit, but it's like where
where to start.
Yeah, where to start.
What's the hook?
So I'm excited about the next hook, and I'm excited to see where you guys go. And
I just think that hooks should be interesting in themselves. The hook should be an adventure itself, which you did. You know what I mean? Like a hook shouldn't just be, if you want to just meet in the bar, that's great. Or you're being hired by the same person and we meet, that's fine. You get really into the action. But I think there should be some intrigue and some interest in like almost a mini adventure in the hook itself, getting to know each other and like how we meet.
Yeah.
It can be, I think, very interesting if it's done the right way.
I'm looking forward in the interim now that they know that I exist in harassing the heck out of Tommy and Brina's mom.
I agree with that.
I think the next side quest will be Tommy and Xena basically hunting down pixies.
Yeah, we're going to have like a buddy action film.
Call it Pixie Patrol.
Ooh, Pixie Patrol.
Where's Zinni?
Where did the guys go? I've not seen him for a while. I don't know. They talked about going into the forest, hunting down pixies.
Yeah.
I am going to throw another silver into the bucket here. So I did actually get the coins out. We're going to have a shared coin. I'm going to toss a silver in there for ignoring the side quest today. And this is something that if you played with me long enough, you know I do this because I love it. I love putting out hooks or teases to see what you're going to take advantage of. So opening up that door and looking down into the darkness, you guys had to make a choice.
Oh, right? We talked about it.
Yeah, like they did. They talked about it off air. It's like, do we go play the safe route and get the cure back? Or do we risk everything and go out of our way for no reason now to go just because, we're adventurers? And you guys actually really thought about it. You're like, no, we need to go back.
Right.
And whatever's down there can wait. And that's actually like, that's role. That's like the heart of role playing. Is like, we're really thinking about the ramifications of this because you don't know what's down there. And because I've already told you, the world is asynchronous and there might be something down there that can just kill you.
Well, like when we were talking off air, Jeff mentioned like this. There was a lot of stuff in this room. There was we had encountered a lot of stuff in just a small little area when you think about it. So I just don't think we were with the way we were feeling and the spell counts and the unrested. I don't think we just felt safe. We felt like we were in danger. We would put ourselves into danger as well. So then we would have died, and then everybody else in town would have died.
Yep.
So I mean, it all adds up.
So that is something that I will always continue to do. Like, there's going to be things along the way that you are going to be the ones that decide.
Did you throw a little bit of the dire boar just to see what we would do, or did you pretty much know that we would paddle right past it?
Or are you trying to tell us what we avoided by taking the water route?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
A little bit of both. It is that that was something that was in the woods. And that's the thing is that just because you took the safe route, like I wanted you to say, there's some stuff out here that you don't want to stumble on in the dark.
Yeah.
Just to be aware. Yeah. But also, why is there a dire boar out there?
Yeah.
Right. Because there's like in this world, dire creatures, are like normal creatures that have kind of been infused with like by a magic source. Like they're not creatures that breed, and there's not packs of dire boars. So whenever you find these dire creatures, there's a reason they became that way.
Would the warg be the same thing, you think?
No, the wargs are just creatures. They actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I know a lot of times because those two can get misunderstood,
like a dire wolf.
Dire wolf and wargs can be people can see the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're dangerous in different ways.
Statistically, on paper they're different, obviously. But
well, because like the dire creatures are larger.
Yeah.
Like the warg, they're a medium creature. They're large for a wolf, but they're not. I mean, their danger is that they're clever. They can make plans. They can build traps.
Sure.
And they can in this case he kind of had his little like, oh look, I'm going to take this place over.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, they're more dangerous.
Yeah. Where like a dire wolf is just a big, dangerous brute of deadly biting. Like
that's why I was a little confused.
Yeah.
I was expecting a large wolf, like physically in map size.
Yeah.
Like a large leader of wolves.
Yeah. Dire wolf would be a leader of wolves, not because male or female, it doesn't matter. They would follow after that.
Yeah.
Because of its size, right? The other wolves would probably just respect that it can die. I don't know if that's how wolves think. I mean, like, hey,
This is a magical realm. We'll just leave it.
Okay.
It's fine. It's all
how
fine.
do wolves think?
magic.
All right. Well, we hit an hour. We try to keep our sessions
Good.
where people are like, yeah, they do. But thank you guys for the kind of that decompression. I think that we will do like this type of thing when it makes sense after,
Chapters and such.
chapters. Yeah. Thank you.
Can we also put this out there as anybody who's listening? Thank you for listening. They can feel free to ask questions too, because I think we've always been through either Dungeon Patrol or this Adventure's Edge. We've been really open, I think, to answer questions because we get excited about questions and answering them from our world.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to send a question on the Facebook group. Feel free to email questions at adventuresedgerpg.com. We definitely engage with people on Facebook. So if you start posting stuff, I think any one of us might just reply to whoever kind of sees it first. And if we don't see it right away, we'll reply to everything because we don't have 1 million followers yet. So that's not a problem. So for now, we can reply to everything you give us. So feel free to reach out. We would love to hear, what you think about the show, where you would like to see us go. If you have some input and thoughts, feedback, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, then we're going to call that a wrap. Congratulations, guys. We'll maybe talk about your level 2 powers and stuff next session, and we'll get into the hook.
All right. See you next time.
All right.
ya.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed our show and want more, please leave us a rating and review on whichever platform you use. And of course, feel free to share us on social media. We'll be back next week with more adventures in the world of Tellus. To tide you over, you can read more about the cast, characters, and the world of Tellus at adventuresedgerpg.com. And if you're going out on your own adventure, remember, even heroes need time for quiet reflection. Stay safe out there.